life is lived once, especially in leadership positions. You cannot afford to experiment, because a leader should be that person who is adding value to his people, who lift them up, who help them advance, somebody who make them be part of a bigger thing than themselves. Actually, Proverbs 29:2 says, when the righteous are in authority, people rejoice, but when the wicked are in authority, people mourn. And you judge a tree by the fruit that it's bearing. Is this a good leadership? Is it a righteous leadership? Is it a wicked leadership? And Gen Zs, we can speak for ourselves. We're still nursing gunshots. I have 3 in my tummy. And then we have guys who are 6 feet under. People, our fellows have been maimed. People have been butchered. And right on our face, the same injustice is still being displayed in our face. I think it will be wrong for us to expect them, or it will be timid to think that the same government will set a timetable for us for our freedom. They will not. And I take great disappointment, especially with our legislators who pass laws on our behalf that they are never intending to implement. I take great disappointment, even with the church, who prefer to remain silent behind security of stained glass windows, not speaking when their children are dying, when the injustice is reigning. And again, I take serious disappointment, especially with the middle class. A few of us who think that they've sailed out of the muddy ponds into fresh flowing waters, and they've forgotten the stench of the backwaters where their brothers are still drowning in. And instead of reaching out, they are safeguarding their salaries, which is just but a paycheck away. Whoever is thinking that they are comfortable in the hands of Ruto, wait and see when the debtors come crashing in. Because look at the policy, the China, the West and the East. These guys are not our friends. These guys are looting our resources day and night. These guys actually are impoverishing this geographical location. And as they do that, they, in exchange, they give us social destruction and decay as an alternative, instead of putting accountability mechanisms to make sure that our government puts its priority correctly. How can we move forward if our economy is not productive? During 1963, about 83% of our populace were employed in agricultural sectors. And as it stands today, you'll be so surprised that just actually about the same number now are employed in the service sector. And about 17% are employed in manufacturing, which is dwindling and going down. Look at the tax policy of this regime. And only less than 3% are engaged in agriculture. So then how would we advance? How would we develop as a country? These guys' policies are inverted, and they are informed by the external agendas whose interest is to make sure that we leave raw materials untouched, and they keep on raking it, and they keep on taking it as much as they can. I saw Xi Jinping, when he was being asked in an interview, whenever when he goes to sleep, what is he worried about? And his answer was that his answer was simple, and it was one straight, that he worries about raw materials in the world, that it will be exhausted, or it may not be available tomorrow. And guess where they get the raw materials from? And their worry, yes, is true, because they're worried that we will wake up, which I believe is a high time that we must wake up, because it is power. It is power that when properly understood, is what can give us the ability to achieve our purpose. Power is the strength required to bring about social and political and economic changes. And this power, already we've given ourselves this power through the Constitution, because the Constitution gives the citizen the sovereign authority, which we can exercise directly or indirectly. And since we gave it to Ruto, he has never represented our interest. He's never acted in our interest. He's always gone against us. We wonder who he serves. He has mutilated the Constitution. As we speak to date, it is not a question. Ruto is guilty as charged in the court of public opinion. And I agree with you, even if we are going to seek legal redress Fabish tomorrow, legal contests are the sole form of activity. When the legal contests are the sole form of activities, the ordinary citizens are mostly involved passively as spectators. And sometimes his interest is stirred, but his energies are unemployed. But mass marches transform the common man into a star performer and engage him in total commitment. And I think that is the heart of where we need to focus. Because what lobbying and imploring could not do in legislative halls, marching feet accomplish them 1,000 miles away. And these are the areas that actually where we should be going from here. And yes, the struggle has not been easy, because freedom is not won by passive acceptance of suffering, because freedom is won by a struggle against suffering, and we have actually paid the price, but we are yet to pay fully. Because when you see people still act timidly or fearfully, if you continue acting timidly or fearfully, some will be gone. It's the time to speak for yourself. Remember the famous saying that when they went for the socialist, I did not speak. When they went for the unionist, I did not speak. When they went for the Jew, I did not speak. And now they're coming for me. There's no one to speak for me. And I know even in this platform, abductions are still consistent. They are still abducting people even from these platforms. So we got to speak like it is our last. Whatever activity you are going to make, don't think you have another time. It is either today or never. So let's come up with the actions that are precise, that are rigorously exact and accurate to deliver the desired result that we are looking forward to. And this we can achieve together, because they are the minority and we are the majority. In a republic, we all control our lives. We are all Moses. We got the keys to open all the prisons and walk to our freedom. And people's power is when we lose our fears. And this has happened before. Because when we lose our fears, they lose up their powers. You remember June 25th. And we are going to remain consistent. And we must be able to sieve even the wheat from the chaff, because I know a number of individuals or characters are not here for the sole reasons of the ultimate freedom. Some are still caught up in thinking with your stomach instead of visionary. But I believe that we have leadership that has been demonstrated by a number of you. I've attended most of your spaces. And I'm so convinced that we are not alone. And it is closer by. So if it is tomorrow, then let's act decisively. But as we move from tomorrow, we must have initiatives that engage the citizen actively so that they're fully committed to the call of justice. So we've seen sometimes we get good lawyers, but they buy the judges. And the ultimate say is with the people. Yeah, so I'll still hang around. If there's any question, I'm ready to take, and I'm happy to be part of the team. Let's make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Justice. That was a very powerful presentation, actually. And for sure, Kenya is at a breaking point. We went to bed uh, with a dream of a government that will bring prosperity, justice, equality to all Kenyans under the Kenya Kwanza administration, only to wake up to a nightmare of escalating hardship, political chaos, deepening economic instability. We are witnessing not just a failure to deliver on promises, but a real betrayal of the fundamental values of good governance. Look at the food prices, look at the employment rate, look at the rampant corruption. Families can barely make ends meet. As Julius Nyerere once said, the people government should serve the people's interest. Yet here we are watching those interests eroded. Thank you. I will hand over to Wanjiru, and then she can bring in Milton. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. I was in a little bit earlier. I don't think I'm not sure whether Abdi was there. I think what Abdi had just come in. And when I was leaving, I was talking about taxes because all the problems we have now um, are pegged on us being able to fund this government to do all the things that they're doing that are not actually benefiting Mwananchi. So I was asking, how do we make them accountable for the money that they get from every taxpayer? And I talked about healthcare, which is really my concern that, if the government cannot provide healthcare, I don't think they have any business being in office because people are dying. They're saying they have this I don't know, shift, I don't know what. But then nobody is benefiting from that. People are dying. Nobody's saying anything. The head of state is quiet. The Ministry of Health is quiet. Nobody's talking. When you look at the state of our education, it is in a very, very bad state. Nobody's talking. And yet, they're collecting billions and billions of money every single day, and this money is just being used to fund a lifestyle for these politicians and all these government officials, traveling abroad and, getting all these allowances. And that's all they care about. That's all they care about. They only care about what it is in for them being in office. But the Monanchi is suffering. We are talking. People are talking. I'm sure every household, people having these conversations. I'm sure people in their marketplaces and in the matatus and everywhere, people are talking about these problems. But we need an engine that is going to move something that can make a change because 2027 is too far. The pain is unbearable now. 3 years down, I think it's going to reach a breaking point at one point. So we need to see how civic education can help people understand what the problem is. And then we also need to see how we can, challenge government and which avenues we can use to petition government. I know in developed democracies, citizens can sign petitions, and when a petition reaches a certain number, for example, in the UK, if a petition reaches 100,000, it has to be debated in Parliament. And I don't know if we even signed a petition, where would you take this petition? I understand when the president said he wasn't aware people were being abducted and people had disappeared, there is a group that attempted to, present a petition to the office of the president, and they were brutalized. So that is the kind of situation we find ourselves in, where we know what is going on. Everybody in the country, including a child on this, a child in a primary school, can actually tell something is not right. But what do we do? How do we challenge this? Because we need to, as much as we are planning to uh, put people in positions in the coming elections, for now, we need to challenge all these things about healthcare education, infrastructure. There, there are places that are, somebody will send me a picture. They were trying to access a farm where they were going to bury their kin, and they couldn't get through because the infrastructure is so bad. There's a bridge that had collapsed, and they had to, you know, try and, carry this casket, by hand to go through a very dangerous place. So it is bad. And the security in the country is also wanting because people are being abducted. People are feeling unsafe. Some people just have to turn their mobile phones off because, data privacy has become an issue. You turn your mobile phone off, on, somebody will know your location and you feel, threatened. So there's all this going on, but then what can we do, and how can people petition? How can people raise their voices? Um, I understand the U.S. Has had spoken to the president about the abuses of human rights, and if at all these abuses are going on, how can the government is not going to tell the US that abuses are going on? We don't know how, honest they're being when they're questioning these things. But at least if we keep shouting and we keep, on social media, and we keep talking about these things and making sure the whole outer world is aware of what's going on in Kenya, I think the amplifying the problems on social media and trying as much as possible to petition and send these petitions, even if they don't do anything. We sign the petitions, we send it to them, and then maybe one day something is going to happen. But I don't know what's going to happen because judiciary is not on our side, parliament is not on our side, executive is not on our side. We are on our own, but we have to keep pushing. Thank you.
Thank you, Anjiro, for that powerful submission. I'll leave Justin, data analyst Fabian, and every speaker to chime in. But I agree with you that while we are continuously being told about efforts to boost the economy and public investment, I think the reality on the ground is a different story. Our healthcare system is truly crumbling. Education standards is being compromised. Essential services remain inconsistent. This raises the pressing question: where is our tax money going? I think we need to demand transparency and accountability in how public funds are managed. Without a clear answer, it's hard to justify the visible gap in public service delivery. I think we have the right to know where these taxes collected diligently still Kenyans face hardships assessing healthcare, education. The focus should not shift raising funds, but ensuring that they are effectively utilized. I think you're right. We need to amplify these voices to push for petitions to seek government transparency on tax revenue allocations. I think it's clearly the problem we demand for transparency. And I'll leave it there. I will leave the other speakers to chime in. If Dr. Milton wants to come in, let me know. Uh, Justice, do you want to chime in? Data analyst and Fabian, I saw your hands are raised.
Yes, I think I can go. Unless Dr. Milton, because Dr. Milton hasn't spoken, unless he wants to go, I think I can go.
You can go ahead, then I speak after you. I think I'm
No
finished.
problem.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, Abdi, you have asked a very good question. But before about taxation, but before I talk about that, Wanjiro, there's something you've said about petitions, and there are there are number of petitions that are going around, and I want to focus on the one that is on sanitary products, because the sanitary products that we are being sold are not cotton. So there's a petition going around, and the target is 10,000 petitioners. There's a court case, and it affects everyone: daughters, sisters, mothers, aunties, every single one of you. And whether it affects you or not, it affects somebody you know. So please, when you get a hold of it, please sign that petition. So that's petition number one. There's also a petition that will go around soon about the IMF. There's a team that wants to sue the IMF, and because of what is going on, yeah, the debt is too high, and that's something I want to speak about. We have the gross domestic product, but right now, I think I was as I was looking at the numbers from the IMF, I think we should call it the gross foreign product. And why do I say that? I say that because 70% of GDP goes to public debt. 70%. So what that means is that that 10% we get from diaspora, that 5% we get from agriculture, that 15% we get from healthcare. When you tally all that up, it's going to some foreign pockets. And then, Abdi, you've rightly talked about taxation. This money that we are getting, that we pay, where does it go? Because it's a colossal amount. If it was going into the economy, we would feel it. We are not feeling it. The money that we are being given by the donors, the loaners, where is it going? Because again, that is a colossal amount of money. And it's like I said before, we do not have consequences for the leadership. There are no consequences. They just keep leading us astray, you know? And that's a very big challenge. The minute that we have consequences, then things will start aligning. Things will fall into place. But right now, to be honest, we have the fox in charge of the hen house. And it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. Yeah. But we need to stop them before we run out of chicken. Yeah. Yeah, that's about it for now. Thank you.
Thank you, data analyst. I like the part a strong economy doesn't need constant reminders from bloggers like Itumbi. People should feel it in their daily lives through better opportunities and greater financial ease. I think if leaders have to keep pointing out the benefit, we are not probably reaching anywhere. Real progress is not just seen, but is spoken. Dr. Milton, over to you.
Thank you very much. It's been a tough week. I want to salute all of us that are here, and I also want to acknowledge the commitment that everyone has to this cause, and that is best demonstrated by the presence, the consistency of being on this space every 7 days, and every other day that we have an opportunity to engage. Today, I want to start by taking note of certain key events that have happened over the past 7 days that I think have been significant or extremely troubling to me, and some have also been gratifying to a certain extent, if you like. And one of those things is the win by Donald Trump as the next president of the United States. I have seen a lot of sentiment, and people have expressed themselves. But I honestly think I want to agree with a conversation that we had with Hillary on Tuesday on election night, that perhaps Trump's win is good for for Kenya and many other African countries, for the reason that the "Make America Great Again" narrative, as much as I do not believe in it entirely, I think it is good that when Americans and those in power at the White House will focus on Americans, then you will have a lot of the big brother syndrome and the validation that William Ruto has been having, and I want to speak directly, I do not expect that it is going to continue. One of the things is, and I hope it happens very quickly, I have seen our people express themselves online, is the current diplomatic representative of the US in Nairobi, and how she has been acting as if she is advancing the interests of Ruto and his cartels. And that has been, it has left me asking myself very many questions. What exactly has been the brief that Meg Whitman had in her Call of Duty Nairobi? I think the other thing that would be Kenyans need to focus on is the end of the Kenyan mission in Haiti, because it is not serving any interest of the Kenyan people that we have our security and law enforcement officers in a foreign country when we are not secure back home. When you cannot utafungia ng'ombe zako na ulale usingizi. So I think it is something that I look forward to. And also the other thing that puts Kenya on the firing line and has given Ruto and his cronies the false sense of bravado is the recognition by President Biden that Kenya is a non-NATO ally of the United States. Who knows what that means? How does that significantly help our country? But even so, the shame that our foreign policy under this regime is, you see police abducting uh, people who are running from persecution, and then you hand them over in the dead of the night, and you only come to speak when there is pressure and say those people were being extradited because of crimes. Surely there are many other things that I hope the Trump presidency will be able to address and call William Ruto to order. He will not expect to mistreat Kenyans because President Trump says his focus is on America. And I think that is a very important thing for us to take note of, and for us to be able to say it is a positive. For me, that was significant. I remain a Democrat, but then, as we always say, uh, you know, when you lose an election, you're not going to you allow the other people. So I would have expected Kamala Harris to win, but then it is what it is. Donald Trump comes in, he becomes the president of the United States, and I can only expect that how he relates with Kenya will be much more with an iron fist, more of a stick as opposed to the carrot, so that we can see an end to the brutality that we have seen in our country. Of greater concern for me are two things. One, during the burial of Mzee Eliud Marende, father to Speaker of the National Assembly Emeritus, Honorable Kenneth Marende, I heard something that has really disturbed me for a very long time. When Oparanya spoke, first of all, for him to say that Kenyans should not expect him to speak kwa sababu ako na peremende kwa mdomo na anajua shida ya hao wengine ni gani, that for me is the lowest. And I would expect the country and Kenyans to have called him out. I listened to that clip last night, and frankly speaking, I've not had peace. I've had nightmares when Oparanya says that sasa akona peremende kwa mdomo, so hawezi ongea. And the second thing is Oscar Sudi coming out to say that he is now the whistleblower uh, of corruption in Kenya. That is a new law. And I think as a country, today I'm speaking a little more collected and calm, but it doesn't mean I am less angry. I am actually trying to make sense and ask our people, how much more can we take before we come out and stop this nonsense? How much more will these dealers masquerading as leaders insult our intelligence before we come out and speak? I'm still asking myself, when police abduct citizens like they did to Boniface Mwangi, and after there is hue and cry and social media bans, then they produce him at Kamukunji police station. And you tell us that the police are not responsible for the disappearances. How much more can we take, fellow Kenyans, before we tell William Ruto enough is enough? When you have a man who oversaw the killing of Gen Z protesters and anybody that was against this government, a man who oversaw that being elevated to the deputy presidency, and today I have seen that he is now ordering, I don't know whether it is an order or a directive, that the next, his successor at Ministry of Interior now needs to tell Kenyans about the disappearances and ensure that they are not happening. Meaning, this is a leadership of selective amnesia. They cherry pick when it is convenient for them to speak, but when it is not, then they will be quiet. I listened to William Ruto speak in Laikipia this week, saying that there is going to be some immunization of Kenyan livestock starting January. And this is coming at a time when there is a lot of information. There could be misinformation in it about the agenda of the globalists. And there we are. Nobody sees anything wrong in that. And Kenyans, we are still demonstrating our resilience as a people. Surely something has got to break the camel's back one more time. I think it is important for us as a people to now begin asking ourselves, we need to take the first step in making sure that we mobilize our people to be angry enough to send William Ruto and his people out of government. I listened to Ndindi Nyoro speak about the loans that this regime has taken in 2 short years of 7.2 trillion. And he gave a list of what 7.2 trillion into the Kenyan economy could have done. And those numbers are mind boggling. They are annoying. I'm actually still like this and calm because of the anger in me at how we are normalizing theft, how we are normalizing bad governance, how we are normalizing stupidity for leadership. And I want to, as I allude to stupidity and leadership, I want to ask us, Mwalimu Julius Nyerere spoke about the distinction between a stupid person and a fool. I don't know whether any of us has listened to that clip, where Mwalimu Nyerere says that a fool is unteachable, but a stupid person, or is it the other way around? What are we as a people? I need us to ask ourselves, are we stupid? Are we fools? Or are we both? Because unless we are one of those two or a combination of both, then what is going on in our country cannot be anything that a people as empowered as the Constitution of Kenya does to us will tolerate and say that we are waiting for 2027. Honestly, I just want to ask that we begin to mobilize substantively. And let us challenge ourselves here today that the next space that we have, we are going to bring one or two more people so that we have more people participating in this space. I want us to challenge one another that as 11:11 tomorrow happens and we want to occupy Milimani, that we are going to get and tag along someone or two people or three people. That is the only way we can begin to make an impact. Otherwise, I want to tell you this. In the minds of the political class, we have seen Casmuel Makore today. He has joined ODM. It means that these people are reaching out. They're telling people, abandon your side and join us. The other day, you remember, William Ruto joined this space. Why? Because we have remained consistent. But when they look at the diminishing numbers of people who are taking part in these spaces, they know that they are winning. And I like what I can't quite remember who was saying that when our fear is gone, they lose their power. We need to dispel our fear. I'm pleading with us. And I'm going to ask what I said again last week. Let us be the drivers of what we want to see from the next person. We can occupy Milimani law courts tomorrow and move from there and occupy parliament. We can occupy the county assemblies. We can occupy the constituency development fund offices. We can occupy the individual offices of the MCAs and members of parliament. The moment we do that, and this is where social media becomes crucial, let that spread all over. Let us occupy the churches. Why are we allowing these dealers, these thieves to come to churches and desecrate our churches and our places of worship and mosques and the temples? We need to occupy. I want us, like I said, I am not calling on anybody to become a terrorist, but I am calling on all of us to adopt the mindset of a terrorist because of the military precision with which they operate. Because that is what we are missing. Let us make it impossible for these people to operate. We know where they live. We know where they take their tea. We know where they meet to cut their deals. Why are we not coming out and mobilizing our people to say, look, Moses Wetangula, an audio clip of you came out in the course of the week, and we feel that that is against the person occupying the office of the Speaker of the National Assembly. Whether or not that is true, We need you to step aside and be held accountable. Moses Wetangula should not be allowed to be taking tea at Serena, or the people of Bungoma should be mobilized to waylay him and make him to resign. The Kenyan people, we saw the Michuki spirit in the NAC era in 2003. Kenyans were arresting police officers. People who were corrupt were forced to resign. If they are not willing to do it, can we force them to do it? Kagame did it in Rwanda. That you are forced, you will be given a pen and a paper, and you sign that resignation and hand it in and walk home. Can our people do that? Can't our people do that? What gives these members of parliament, these corrupt, these thieves, where do they get this power to come to the village and continue to treat Kenyan people with so much contempt and even showing them the middle finger? Can we force one member of parliament to resign at a matanga that he comes, and you call Kurunzi and everybody, we cover that, send it, make it viral, that an MP or an MCA or a CS has been forced to resign by the people at a public event because they are always attending these events. That way the message will be home. And that is the point. I think that is where we are right now, good people. It is the small things that we do that are going to make a difference. Mobilize yourselves. The Nyumba Kumi initiative that was talked about. Let us use it. Let it not be used by chiefs to spy on our people. We can use it kuweka vifuli kwa hizo ofisi za hawa watu. We can use the Nyumba Kumi initiative as a concept to model how we will force those governors out of office by shutting them out of the office and saying, enough is enough. I've been talking about how disrespectful it is for William Ruto to tell the Kenyan people that enough is enough. Which employee tells the employer enough is enough and continues to keeps their job? Who? Who? Why are we allowing it? Why are we allowing them to abuse us, to insult us? This is the time for us to say enough is enough. And the small things from the lowest level is what will pass a strong message when we start forcing them to do those things. I want to tell you this, that where I come from in Yamira and where I live in Embakasi East, we are going to mobilize our people, apo, to make those people at our level. And as far as tomorrow is concerned, let us know, Fabish, we need to know what exactly we are looking for, how many people we want, how many people want to come, are willing. We can mobilize and make it possible for our people to occupy. As we speak, I am scratching my head how my team at Kurunzi and Anthony, this is something important because we had a discussion about it. How we are going to make sure that the compromised quote unquote mainstream media will not give the give a falsified narrative of what happens tomorrow. So I am working my head right now trying to deploy resources in terms of the human personnel and the capacity to be able to cover the proceedings in court tomorrow. We want to know which of our people are desiring to come and they are unable, or what exactly do we need to do. I have seen, and this is the time I want to, as I land, I want to make a call to action. We see what Morara is doing. Amazing job. He was in is it in Kilifi, where he was talking about a project that Ruto said is employing 200 people every day. A whole president is proud to tell us, yet that project has not taken off. Morara was there. Can we create a structure where now we start reaching out to all other formations that are similarly objected, similarly missioned? We start reaching out to them and saying, hey, let us now caucus. Because if there are people who are continuing to speak about these things even now, those are people who appreciate that this is a marathon and not a sprint. And therefore, we need to start pulling together. We need to start caucusing from the lowest level all the way up, so that all our efforts can begin to look synchronized and harmonized, so that we can go back to making sure that the resources that we have are prudently deployed and there is no duplication in whatever we are doing, and such that everybody is able to do that which they can deliver best to the cause of the revolution. So that if Milton, I am a media person and that is where I thrive, we can be able to say that everything to do with that, let us have this as a main strategy, and we have a fallback and up to plan C and D. And if Anthony, you're good with this, Fabish, this is what you do best, we do that kind of mobilization, so that as soon as next month, William Ruto will not be going to Mombasa to enjoy the Christmas period after Jamhuri Day. And that even Jamhuri Day will happen, and the Kenyan people, the same way, and I want to pose this as a challenge, the same way that the state mobilizes people to come for the national holidays, we are going to mobilize our people to attend those holidays, those events. So that when William Ruto is speaking and they are telling lies, we will have the national flag and the white handkerchiefs, and people will have passed their message that we no longer have the confidence. In fact, we can have that as a plan and say William Ruto will not address Kenyans on the day we celebrate our independence because he has taken our independence away. We can begin to mobilize the country to say that no county commissioner is going to read the presidential speech by William Ruto on a day we are celebrating our independence, because we are no longer independent. That the self-rule and governance that our forefathers bequeathed subsequent generations has been taken away by this leadership and this regime. And therefore, they have no moral authority to address us on the day as important as we celebrating our independence from the colonialists and colonial masters, because today they are not working for us, they are working for our masters to enslave us in our own country, enslaving us by making it impossible for us to afford basics, for us to have access to an education. They are making it impossible for us to access healthcare, which is a fundamental right. They are not allowed to address the great people of Kenya on a day marking independence from the shackles of slavery, when they are enslaving us in our own country 60 plus years after independence. And we have to be able to rise up and say, we are not waiting for the America and the West to tell off William Ruto and his people, because they have their own countries to take care of. We as a people will rise and say, this is our country. You will govern how we want you to govern and not how you want us to be governed. That we are the boss and we are the employer, and when we get tired, when we fire you, we have the power, we have the right to hire and fire, and you stand fired. That is what I would want us to see. And if this space can be able to come up with that kind of call to action, then we will make progress. And the last call I want to make is this: as I land, please, if you know of anybody that has a radio or TV frequency that they are not using, or you know of someone that has a radio or TV frequency and they are struggling to run the business, please reach out. We may not have the billions because we have not stolen, but I believe that we can mobilize ourselves using this space and others to create an investment in a media, in media business, and an operation that is going to support this movement and make it everything we want. I do not have that kind of money, but I am reaching out and saying, if you know a media entity that is struggling and that would be open to a structure that allows people to invest in it and for it to support this revolution, please reach out so that we begin to make real progress in holding William Ruto and his cartel accountable. And we are not holding them accountable to continue staying in office. We are holding them accountable by running them out of town and holding a trial and sending them to jail. Let us not make our country the mockery that it has become already. This is the time for us to stand up and say, enough is enough. Good people, I don't want to raise my tempers beyond where they are right now, because I can speak and speak and speak. I want to land at that point. If there are any questions, please feel free to ask. If you have any concerns, if you need anything, please feel free, so that we put our heads together and begin to substantively make the wheels of justice on behalf of our country, for the sake of our children and our children's children and their grandchildren, for their future to be bright. Let us continue speaking. Lastly, comrades, some may think that this is just a wasted space where we come and rant and rant and rant, but that is not true. The correct position is that we continue speaking, we continue agitating, and as long as we are talking, someone would listen. And even the walls have ears. And like I said, even a broken clock is right once a day. And I am looking for that once a day to come, that our broken country will get it right and our people will stand and joyfully celebrate the fruits of their expectations and the labor and their resilience. Thank you, comrades. God bless you.
Thank you, Dr. Milton, for that powerful presentation. I think I agree. We move forward. To move forward is crucial for this movement. I want to emphasize the importance of reaching out to leaders regardless of their current affiliation. I think it's essential to remind everyone that unity is our greatest strength. I think it has a unique capabilities, contribution that can best be hardened when we come together, putting aside individual interests and for the collective good. I think let's focus on building bridges, fostering trust, leveraging what each person can deliver to empower the movement and amplify a shared goal. Let me bring in Anthony.
Just 30 seconds, Abdi. I just wanted to request Dr. Milton to kindly just open your DM so that we can connect. Thank you.
Yeah, we will be giving you the chance. Please just raise your hand too. So I'll bring in Anthony and then Linus, and then we hear from them. Thank you.
Uh, Thank you. Thank you very much, Abdi, and thank you, Hilary, for opening the space. And all protocols have observed, everyone who's listening and everyone who's on the speaker panel. Sorry, I came in late. We've gotten an invite by a group of young people on TikTok. It's not our familiar ground, but I'll be leaving to go to TikTok at around 10 p.m. thereabout. Basically, it's a conversation around what will be happening tomorrow. And I know what I'm about to say will not be popular, but personally, I feel anyone to me who's against this regime, whether they're in politics, whether they were in the old politics, whether it's the new generation, I will make a coalition with everyone who can get Ruto out. About tomorrow. So tomorrow we shall be in court. I happen to have had some calls in the morning with the legal team representing the LSK team, and with the new legal team that we have, including Mount Kenya jurist. We want the two cases to be joined together. Now, the media team from Kalonzo Musyoka has said they'll cover it. But because I'll also be on Nairobi, I'll do my best to stream it on in real time on my X account. So I want to be there very early so that I'm in court early enough so that I can also get a position where I can sit. And like I said, we do not have the luxury to segregate ourselves. Ruto is not doing it, and I'll also not do it. For instance, when we were grappling with who will do the live stream tomorrow, when we approached Kalonzo, he said, yeah, if you want my team there, I'll be there. I'll cover it 100%. We must come together as a people, keep our differences aside, and start moving forward together. We are not moving together because we love each other. We are moving together because the person we are facing gives us more reason to deal with him first, then deal with each other second. Tomorrow, I am very optimistic that we have a solid case against Ruto. And the reason I'm optimistic we have a solid case against Ruto is because unlike Ken Trako, unlike Chief, Ruto has not made any move on JKIA. From what we are hearing from the workers' union in KAA is that the Adani team is very upset. And they are pushing because they say there's nothing moving in regards to the JKIA deal. And another thing I must bring light to you guys is that KAA has a solid lawyer, Fred Ngatia. So how Ruto will maneuver this, I do not know. But I'm calling on all Kenyans to come out tomorrow in large numbers and show the world and show other Kenyans that we are not giving JKI away without a fight. That is number one. Number two, that the people do not want this deal. Today, as we speak, I've just seen something going around. A child died on the floor of the hospital because no one wants to accept Shifosha. So tomorrow, if we give out JKI and Adani's payment is due, and Kenyans don't have that payment, does it mean Kenyans will not fly? Is that what Is that the deal we want for Kenya? He has already switched off 50% of the power grid in Bangladesh. These are the things we are standing against. And this is why I believe strongly that if we come out tomorrow and show the world, Adani included, the president included, that Kenyans are willing to put up a fight, it is my honest submission we shall win this fight together. Because Kenya belongs to all of us, the young, the old, and the unborn. That is the fight we are fighting, my fellow people. The differences between us are minimal, are very minute compared to the future we might lose if we concentrate on our small, personal fights that really do not have any bearing on the future of this country. We must put our personal differences aside for now and fight the fight for our future and the future of our children. Those would be my submissions today. My submission today is we must work together. Our differences are minimum, very minute compared to the threat we face going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony, always for your submission. Linus, do you want to go?
Thank you so much, Abdi. Thank you so much once again, the host, for the space. I'll be very brief. I so wish to just pick it from where Anthony has left. We are united by a common enemy. We all agree, all Kenyans agree, that we are heading in the wrong direction. All of us acknowledge that things are not well. All of us acknowledge that there is serious crisis in leadership, and the person that we have at the pinnacle has got no crisis leadership credentials. Because when an organization is going through a crisis, then the person at the pinnacle has to adjust and maneuver the organization out of the crisis. But we are in a scenario where we are delving deep, we are digging deep into crisis. My take is this: I've heard Milton speak, I've heard all the other speakers, I've been a keen listener today. But my take is this: leadership crisis in the country. Who bears the greatest responsibility? The greatest responsibility is borne by the citizenry. The people, the commoners, have the power. As Milton put it, they hire, they fire. But then my worry is this: if the commoner does not know or does not understand the extent, the depth of his strength or her strength in terms of leadership, then we are headed nowhere. And that's why even in my initial contribution, I acknowledged and I emphasized that we are bad. We are doing bad. We are doing so bad. We always say that God brings forth good leaders, but God does not work in isolation. God works through a medium. It is in the Old Testament that God used to speak through clouds and dust and mountains, those physical things. But I think in the New Testament, God works through a medium. And the medium here is the human being. All these characters call themselves leaders simply because they can mobilize human characters to identify with their goal and to lead them to achieve their particular goal. But let's ask ourselves and face the reality. Amongst us, all of us from the time this movement started, do we have better persons? Do we have better alternatives? Do we have persons who will go into position of leadership, not to serve themselves and their cronies, but to serve for the public good? Do we have persons who will understand that that particular position he is being given by a commoner? Because the paradox is the persons we put in leadership, they are very friendly when they are seeking the votes. which is very common with so many persons, even in the organizations or in our places of work, in businesses. We see them. They are very friendly when they're in need, but once they get it, the only thing they can give you is dust. Look at what happened with today with is he called Murugara, the member of parliament who was distributing cabbages. I mean, to him that is leadership. To him that is providing solution. But is it the leadership that we want? It's very painful that in Kenya of today, someone can go out to be dishing fish instead of giving his constituents a fishing gear, point to them the lake, and let them go fish themselves. So the issue we have here is we have a common enemy. And my take is the power is with the people. We can rant, we can speak, we can put a lot of emphasis. And one thing that I picked from what Milton has said tonight is his call for anyone who has got a registered frequency and struggle to manage. Because to me, my point is communication. How do you communicate to that villager? The advantage that the current political class have is they have a podium, which I do not have access to. Having that podium gives them a lot of power. And how do you deprive them of such podium? You can only deprive them of such podium by having an alternative means of communication. Now, how do you reach to the heart of hearts of that commoner in the village? Because the movement was very strong in June. How did it get deflated? It got deflated when Raila came out and decided to take side with the oppressor. That's the fact. Because of his, I'm not blaming this on him, but because of his followership of goons, now the others who had wanted to continue with the protest, to continue with the mandamano, feared being attacked by the very goons, the very colleagues that they were going to the protests with. So my take is we need to reach to the heart, the deepest heart of the commoner. Let the commoner understand that this country is headed in the wrong direction. When Anthony says that we come out tomorrow, this case against Adani, these are some of the things that, if well communicated, will make my mother in the village ask herself, how comes the president is losing on almost all fronts? It means something is amiss. But if we let it be, because if you see what's going on here, is that initially there was a speaker who talked of the member of parliament Salasia and Babu, a few member of parliaments who supposedly are doing well in their constituencies. And then I think Hillary put forth a question that what is the difference? Why does it appear as though some members of parliament receive more than others? It goes without doubt that yes, there are pockets of persons in position of leadership politically that are doing well. But then given that we have a common enemy, we have to keep our focus on the ball so that we don't miss shoot. Because politically speaking, we have various political parties. Kalonzo is angling for the position. There are other persons that will come up angling for the same position. But at what moment will we sit back? Because this administration has only 1 year to go. Once we are done with the December 2025 and we're into January 2026, it will be all politics. It will be all systems loose. So for with this 1 year, what is it that we can do that will empower that gentleman in Kondele, that will empower that lady in Mvita, that will empower that woman in Shinyalu, to know that when I walk into a polling station, I'm going to give the keys of my life to an individual for 5 years, until and unless a recall process is done midway. So it is my submission, and I put emphasis on this almost every day, that the current political class has lost direction. And I think it has been a trend. There is a speaker who gave the chronology from the time of Kenyatta up to date, That is the same system, the same narrative that these people go into office with. They go into office knowing that the times of Kenyatta, it was done like this, and they managed. The times of Moi, it was done as such, and they managed. The times of Kibaki, the same way. Times of Uhuru, the same way. So if we do it the same way, we will still manage. But it is lost to them that the citizen of today is awoke, that the citizen of today is very much alert, save for those who depend on the handouts. And that's why our politicians, today I think I tweeted something asking the ODM party, because I believe we have to take them to task. To be in the opposition is not by choice. When Kenyans elect one party to be in the position of leadership of governance, the government of the day, then there is that other option of putting the government in check. So I asked the ODM party, what is your take on the bills that are currently before the House? There is the rice bill. There is the nuts and oils bill. There is the, what do you call it? The dengue bill was brought down. There was the agricultural professionals bill. There's the horticulture crops bill. What is your take on these bills? Because to my understanding, reading these bills through, hizi bills zinanyanyasa mwananchi wa kawaida. Now, secondly, we have this thing of Ruto saying that we are going to vaccinate livestock. What happened to our livestock? What is it that is so important that we have to vaccinate all the livestock in Kenya? And we just giving an individual business? It is in the same concept that Adani deal came up. People are just looking for business. So my take is we need to empower the commoner with a tool to understand that walking into a polling station, I'm not going to joyride. I'm going to give someone the powers to make laws that will govern my life and the lives of my children for the next 5 years, or unless there's a recall process, or the person perishes in office. Yeah. So I humbly submit that we need to focus on two aspects. We need to focus on making the communication reach the people, civic education, and making people politically aware that the political decision that I make today as an individual will affect the entire populace. If you walk into a polling station, 1,000 people, and each one of us takes a different political stand, all the 1,000 of us will be affected by those political stands, whether I identify with you or not. It is for that reason that we must call for unity of purpose. If it is the case against Adani, let us show up. Let us show up. Let us avail ourselves. Let us express ourselves in all podium, in all media, in all means that we can. Because as Milton has said it, someone is always listening. Someone is always out there trying to pick up what the people are saying. And it is